Problem Solved is sponsored by NYC Best Property Management. NYC Best Property Management partners with co-op, condo, and community association boards, developers, and high-rise property owners to provide expert guidance on operational decisions and budget strategies, ensuring efficient and effective property management. At NYC Best Property Management, we go beyond just managing properties. We focus on creating a place where you truly feel at home. Together, we make living easy and enjoyable. Contact info at nycmgt.com to learn what NYC Best Property Management can do for you.
Welcome to Problem Solved, a conversation about challenges facing New York co-op and condo board directors. I'm Carol Ott with Habitat Magazine, and I'm joined today by Marilyn Sygrove, president of Sygrove Associates, an interior design firm specializing in the design of public spaces in co-ops and condos. Marilyn, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
More than a space to walk through, lobbies and hallways make the first impression on anyone walking into a co-op or condo building. If you live in a brand new building, that public space already reflects the values of the apartments. However, if you live in an older building, there may be a disconnect between the two. We're going to talk about how to narrow that disconnect. Marilyn, you worked with an Upper East Side post-war co-op that had a tired lobby and a doorman. The configuration of the space must have been from another era, because when the doorman was dealing with packages, he couldn't keep an eye on the front door. Clearly not a good situation and probably very frustrating for both the doorman and residents. When you got there, how did you sort the building out?
Well, it's a process. First, we have to learn about the building and how it functions and what the expectations are of the door staff. Some door staff needs to be right near the door and help residents from the curb. Others, we have found that they are more almost concierge-like in a way where they are not necessarily near the door, but really close to the package area. And sometimes it's the combination. And this particular lobby really had an either or. This lobby, the doorman was well inside the building. So the front doors needed to be dealt with in order for convenience for residents, convenience for the door staff to be able to manage and monitor security, as well as, call upstairs and announce guests and also retrieve packages. So it was a little bit of an unusual situation for us.
Is the reason the board contacted you because the lobby didn't look good, or because there was a problem with the doorman and the packages and letting people in, or a combination of everything?
Generally, it's a combination of both. They recognize that if you haven't done your lobby in 25, 30 years, that the Band-Aids of putting in a new piece of furniture doesn't solve all the problems. So that's when they call and say, help, we need to make this a viable modern building that competes with other new construction or other recently renovated buildings.
So let me ask, designing any public space engenders lots of opinions, and it can be one of the most contentious things in a building. Before we talk about this particular project, how do you typically handle that or smooth things out?
The word I would use is if the board can be as respectful as possible, understanding that everyone does have an opinion. We have, I've been doing this since 1982. And you listen a lot. And in that time, you learn what will help the residents get through the project and the board get through the project smoothly. Surveys are done, whether they're done through us or by the board itself, about opinions. When we prepare a survey, we always leave an area for opinions. So it's one thing to ask, what color do you like? It's another thing to ask, how much seating should you have in the lobby? But to give a space for opinions, venting, constructive ideas is really welcomed by the community. Secondly, I also do something that is unique, I believe, which is I will do a virtual Meet the Designer night. For 1 hour, one night. I'm not showing anything. I'm not presenting anything, but I am there to listen. And it's 1 hour. People generally just come and look at me, but the fact that the board has given this opportunity for them to speak goes miles and miles and miles. So those are two things that I recommend highly.
And once you get that feedback, do you incorporate it? Do you let the residents know that you are listening and have incorporated it? Do you just move on with what actually needs to be done? How is that handled?
You're asking insider questions. What happens is I find that generally the board is the governing body on the design. And sometimes the design committee, but also there's always a board presence. And I have always found that no matter what a survey says or what I hear, that the board is generally a pretty good representative of the building. And I really haven't found anything that's been so divergent or out there and that's different. And then also to protect myself and the board when I have these meetings and when we do the survey is I always say, I apologize and say, look, I cannot appeal to everyone's individual taste. We will do our best, but I know. And so this is a heartfelt blanket apology to those of you who, are not going to be 100% happy. And it seems to be, just being human and saying that goes a long way.
So let's look at this particular building. When you got there, what did you find?
Oh dear. Poor lighting, doorman facing the wrong direction, a package room that thankfully for them wasn't down the first floor hallway. It was in close proximity, but it was a big room that whenever the door staff went in there, they were lost. And as you introduced this, they couldn't see what was going on in the lobby at the same time. So the building also was a 1959 mid-century building that the decor really didn't reflect that. There were dated 12 by 12 marble tile on the floor, which is pretty indicative of a certain period. And so there was a lot. There were functional issues and there were aesthetic issues. And the mailroom was a maze. It was just not comfortable and open and ADA compliant. So there were a bunch of things.
So talk to me about your solution.
Well, when we are hired, we actually come back with more than one solution. We come back with three alternative layouts. And the one that was selected was, and rightly so, was we actually put in electronic sliding doors on the exterior. So that allowed residents and guests and deliveries to come in without getting soaked in the rain while waiting for this door person to come around and go outside. The interior door was facing a different direction, and the doorman's desk was in a new position where it could actually see the vestibule and oversee the entire lobby at the same time. There was a very kind of funky, rounded room that was maybe an old compactor scenario that we discovered we were able to demolish and create relatively shallow package storage space, but adequate for hanging in closets and packages directly behind the doorman. So any of his immediate needs in terms of him retrieving packages was right behind him. We also had an opportunity to put another package area to his side. I'd say 85% of the packages he did not need to go into this cavernous package room. So that was a solution. And then from aesthetic solution, we had designed the hallways along with the lobby in this project and the elevator cab. So we offered mid-century modern geometric patterns to the client. So the lobby, which had a beautiful step-down lounge off to the side, we were able to do a very luxurious mid-century inspired area rug and then appropriate furniture as well. And then that pattern also is referenced upstairs in the hallway, so the building is cohesive.
And give me a sense of how long a project like this takes.
There's two parts of it. There's the date of hire of a design firm, and then there's the actual scope and execution of the project. So I generally say that those two parts are a year to a year and a half. So it's roughly 6 months of design time. Then there is bidding, procurement, and then the actual commencement of the construction, which can be another 6 to 8 months. So it's a process.
And we're not going to identify the building, but give me a sense of cost. I mean, this was a pretty big project.
Yes, because it had to do with the entry doors, which sometimes can be unusual. Often buildings will keep their entry doors. So the entry doors, the doorman desk, flooring, lighting, wall treatments, a new package cabinetry, the mailroom, and the first floor hallway wound up being something in the neighborhood of 1,300 square feet. The whole project is about $600 a square foot. That's including design fees, filing fees, whatever, all in 100%. So what's the math on that? It was in the close to $800,000 for the whole thing.
And let me just ask for a building's financial planning. So let's say they want to do a project of this size and it's between $800,000 or $1 million, but it's going to take a year and a half. Does a building actually have to have that money in hand? Can they make assessments? Are there payments over that time period?
From our perspective, they don't have to. In the olden days, there was reserve funds and they had the money and that was it. Today, I hear the A word a lot more. And there's, tremors when you say the A word. But I believe that they do assess. For example, a contractor would want 25% of their cost as a down payment. And then there are progress payments along the way for both the contractors, designer, and then, of course, any outside professionals that you need. So assessing is certainly something that's done, I hear, is done all the time.
For other board directors contemplating this, what would be your 3 top pieces of advice?
I really believe engaging the community passively in some way, and I gave you 2 examples, I think is extremely effective and helps a project go very smoothly. I think that communications, regular communications as to what's going on. Hey, we just hired a design firm. Hey, in the month of June, we're going to break ground, or January often is another time of year when it happens. So, and then also we have weekly meetings where there is constant communication and we say, hey, the residents should know that their doors are going to be opened or for painting. So communication is very important. And the third, I think the partnership with the property management company and expediting payments, that's another dreaded A word, which is AVID. The old days of having a bookkeeper in the back room writing checks is gone. And so therefore, property managers really need to be on top of that cash flow. So those are the things that I would recommend.
Thank you very much. Those are really important takeaways for other boards. We've been talking today with Marilyn Sygrove, Sygrove Design Associates. Thanks, Marilyn.
Thanks, Carol.
Looking to elevate your building's first impression? Trust Marilyn Sygrove and the team at Sygrove Associates Design Group. For over 30 years, they've specialized in creating stunning, functional lobby and hallway designs that reflect your building's unique personality and increase property value. Ready to transform your space? Visit Sygrove.com today and schedule your consultation. Sygrove Associates, because great design begins at the front door.